Action Shelf. The Action Shelf. The Action Shelf.
Welcome to the Action Shelf, the podcast celebrates the glory of B action movies. I'm John Campbell. Michael Listman out sick, I think, possibly.
What are you talking about, John? I'm right here. Hey, no, it's me. It's Michael.
Where's he coming from? Oh my God, he's here.
I'm right here. Hey, I'm here to talk about some action movies with you guys.
Filling in for Michael Listman, and by that I mean he'll be doing the voice of Michael Listman for this show, is the guest co-host this week, Brendan Jones. Now, I do think Michael Listman might be playing up how sick he is because he watched 20 minutes of this movie.
I'm only saying that he heard his mom coming down the hall, and he put that thermometer right to the light bulb, is what he did. He's got
the clammy hands, he followed all the Ferris Bueller checklist.
If that is the case, if he is calling out sick on this movie on purpose, that means that really is an indicator of this movie. Because I know you guys watch, and I've guest starred on here a few times. But
I was going to say you're the first fill-in co-host, which makes sense because you are our most frequent guest. I think
I'll take it.
I think Elliot is chasing you, but I think
and Elliot will catch up with me because I am very slow.
Yeah,
and I'm heavy. But here's the thing. This does feel suspicious because you guys have seen so much crap.
Oh, lots of it.
So for anything to push him to the point of like going, no, I just can't this time. It's saying
you know what though? This could do it. I will say, we are talking about 1982's Megaforce.
Yes.
And this is something. This movie is... it's both something and it's nothing, too. Like, it's... I had seen this as a kid. I'm assuming you probably saw it as a child.
Well, yeah. Yes. Or at least sort of pre-teenish era when it was being... Here's the thing. We've talked about this before on our other podcasts, but there's some films that targeted their advertising very strongly at young folk, as in comic nerds.
Yes.
Megaforce, at the time it came out, targeted us, because I include myself.
Sure.
Like, hardcore. You could not pick up a comic in 81, 82 without seeing a very promising looking drawn ad. Art was
the best thing about this movie is its poster. The poster for Megaforce rules. It absolutely
it's promising something that you're not going to get, but it looks like a action comic where you've got a heroic lead with like a bandana. He's a badass. He's in this like tight outfit. He's got tech stuff on him, and he's pointing at you like Uncle Sam wants you. And you see the vehicles in the background. You see fantastically modified dune buggies and motorcycles, and you're like, fuck yeah, this is like G.I. Joe come to life. And they have their own slogan, which is deeds not words.
Deeds not words. There. And as the tagline promises, there has never been a superhero like Ace Hunter.
There really hasn't, because they would not have made it to the page.
Yeah,
that would never have happened.
No comics company ever would have published this character, because I don't. Here's the thing. This is going to be an interesting episode of Action Shelf. Not only the first one without Listman, but it's going to be the first one where we're really going to have to, like, I almost do not know what happens in this movie.
Oh no, I'm totally with you there.
Yeah,
I am totally with you. It is.
And I had not seen it, like I said, since I was a kid. And I remember, like, I had all the images of it that I remember as a kid are here, certainly.
Right.
You can't forget Barry Bostwick on the flying motorcycle, stuff like that.
You can't.
But what I did not remember, because I was 8 or whatever when I saw it on cable, is that it makes no sense. And also, it's pretty fucking boring.
It's boring. It's not an action film. It is.
No.
We were Hal Needham, as we were just saying before we went on mic, directs stunt movies.
Yeah.
And so plot or stakes. There's just nothing here.
I was going to say this is a movie without any stakes because I have no idea what any character wants or why they're doing a single thing that they're doing in this movie. And then when the movie ends, I went, did they even accomplish anything? Has anything in the world changed as a result
of Megaforce?
Of the actions of Megaforce? No, because once again, I don't even understand. Here's the thing. I don't even know if I'm supposed to not like this villain. I can't tell. Ace Hunter seems to love him.
Well, that's one of the only things I like about this movie is that's a cool take. If you have two people who formally work together and are real bros, and they can't help but like each other, but at the same time they're on two opposite sides.
But you need
a conflict.
You then need another bad guy, right? Because the problem is there's no stakes in or something.
But you also need to understand what the plot is. You need to understand what's at stake. So therefore, it can be this regretful, like, man, I so wish you weren't trying to take over this country because otherwise we'd be sitting down and having a beer.
Yeah.
But we don't know what he wants. We don't know what he's even doing. There is no attempt. Okay, here's the thing. This movie. All right. So around that same time that this movie comes out, mid 80s, early 80s, 82. Into early 90s, you caught some of this. You caught some of this in your early youth.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Was the prevalence of commercials for toy lines.
Yes.
Where you have representative youngsters playing with action figures in a commercial. So like a G.I. Joe commercial, I remember these, where it'd be a kid going like, I'm Cobra Commander, using the action figure. I'm Cobra Commander, and I'm going to take over. And then, like, not so fast, Cobra Commander. Oh, it's Duke. Yeah. And they're just playing on this
Roadblock.
Going,
I mean, that was my childhood, and I had boxes and boxes of G.I. Joe figures and vehicles.
And they would do stuff like, in the commercial, it would be stuff like, introducing the latest weapon against the evils of Cobra. It's now the whatever vehicle.
Oh, the big one I played with all the time as a kid was the G.I. Joe Battle Wagon.
I remember that one. I didn't own a single
It was basically a monster truck with a giant cannon on the back of it.
Oh, man. Yeah. So, essentially something they wish they had for Megaforce.
Well, Megaforce is really like G.I. Joe if it made no sense.
But that's what I'm getting at. The whole thing about those commercials have more character development.
Yes.
Understandable goals, plots, and motivations.
Yes.
And characterization.
Yeah.
It basically, those commercials are more of an action film.
Yeah.
In 30 seconds than this entire movie that I'm sitting there going like, what is this? Why is this? And also this problem suffers from there are many problems.
Yeah.
One thing is, and I love Barry Bostwick. I need to come across as
Barry Bostwick. The man's an icon.
I've seen him in drama. I've seen him in comedy. I mean, I've seen him in musical form.
That's another certainly amazing Broadway song and dance man.
The guy can do
infinitely talented.
But you know what he can't do?
No. What?
This.
Yeah.
This is just like my problem that I had on our other podcast with James Woods as a badass in John Carpenter's Vampires, because here you have someone who's posing all the time because he knows what's expected of him. Is like, look at my badassness.
By the way, if James Woods was posing, that doesn't even begin to cover what Barry Bostwick is doing. Every physical movement, he has to enter every scene by swinging in like, like it's.
And standing at a ridiculous akimbo pose, the legs totally spread.
In the tightest outfit cinema has ever seen.
Again, I saw someone on Letterboxd in their reviews, and I wish I could credit them by name, but I forgot. But they were like going, God damn you, movie, because now I know that Barry Bostwick dresses to the left. And it's true. This movie it's lycra and spandex beyond any superhero film.
To this point. Nobody's ever. Yeah, it is like all the embarrassing tight outfits of like 70s superhero stuff. They've got nothing on Ace Hunter, man.
And to their credit, he said with a question mark, they don't put Paris Kambata in any of this.
No, she very, very briefly has a Megaforce outfit, but you don't even, it's a black outfit, and you don't even see all of it. She's just sitting in one of the vehicles at one point in kind of a black Lycra outfit.
Well, yet another problem with this movie is why introduce her character who's supposed to be not only a president's daughter and a major, a military major, and then she gets sidelined for the entire movie because Hunter's like, I don't want you to get hurt. I like you too much.
I want to state that why that's amazing is there's a whole training montage of her joining Megaforce and him going, you could join the team, but you won't. And I just go,
yeah, he's literally going like, I got to say, you surprised me. You handle all that stuff. You would be the top of our group, but I can't let you go out there with us. You'll get hurt. And I like you too much.
Well, that's what he says. These two have absolutely no chemistry whatsoever.
All right, and I also need to say this.
Yeah.
Paris Kambata.
Yep.
Her career
You're talking
is
about
very
Aaliyah
indicative.
from Star Trek The Motion Picture.
I know I am. She's good in that. You want to know why? Because her character is so tightly controlled and fairly emotionless.
And at a certain...
And we find out that's because the Deltons are telekinetic and also... If you read any Star Trek encyclopedia, which sadly I have.
Oh, I was going to say, Brendan, who are you talking to? I used to highlight sections of the Star Trek encyclopedia.
The Deltons have such a high sex drive that they actually have to purposefully drop all sort of emotional.
That was a thing that was a much bigger part of Roddenberry's draft that they slowly.
Yes. No, they didn't really play that up in the movie, which is good.
No, and Aaliyah basically becomes the prototype for Troy, right? Like they sort of work out. But the other thing I was going to say that also works is she does become possessed by an AI program about halfway through that movie too.
Yes. So in addition,
she is not.
This was the best. That was the best role for her because here's the thing: Paris Kambata is not a good actress, and I'm so sorry
not at
because
all.
She is a beautiful woman.
Stunning.
I mean, R.I.P.
I see
she
why.
She died young, and it's terrible.
It is really sad, and it's one of those things. It's like it was just a heart condition that she couldn't fix.
And she also smoked, apparently chain smoked.
Yeah, that sure as hell doesn't help.
But she's an example of a model turned actress who found the kind of career she was going to find, and that is not me trying to shame her. It's like, look. She ended up in a lot of B pictures and C and D pictures around Europe.
The only other bigger movie she was in is Nighthawks, which I fucking love.
Yeah, Nighthawks, but
she has a small part.
Absolutely small part.
Yeah.
So again, no, she brings nothing here. So the only thing is, I guess if you're going to have a character that gets sidelined early and then only shows back up at the end. Then sure, call Paris Kambata. But how much better would this movie have been if you'd had some kind of like, well, it still has a lot of problems, but bring in a female character that becomes integral to their team.
The other thing
it's just like Lady Blackhawk and the Blackhawks. Come on, man.
I know. Well, because I said I really only remembered bits and pieces from childhood watching this, so I just assume that's where. Why else am I watching a 15-minute sequence of her training with them unless she's going to be, or even still when he grounds her, I still think third act she's going to come in and save them.
Exactly. Your brain goes to she will be the thing that was the unknown that is waiting to save them. So she's the wild card. Didn't happen.
No, this movie has no interest in telling anything resembling a satisfying story, despite the 4 screenwriters that are credited on it.
Oh boy,
4. Boy. One of whom is Hal Needham.
Yeah, and another one is the producer guy,
Albert S. Ruddy, who produced a little film called The Godfather.
Yep.
What the fuck? What a huge come down, man.
Yeah, is that going to be the next season of The Offer? On is going to be him going, I'm on to something great. If
they can convince Miles Teller to star as Ruddy in the story of him making Megaforce.
Story of Megaforce. Oh my god.
Here's the thing about Albert S. Ruddy.
Yeah.
he found the right property with The Godfather. Almost nothing else he produced is worth a damn.
Yeah.
He
I
did,
mean, again, he got lucky once.
he found the right thing. It's the same thing as William Castle produced Rosemary's Baby. Yeah, because he read a book and bought it before anybody else did.
Yep.
and he was smart enough to go, this is pretty good. The only other Ruddy movie I can possibly stand behind is The Longest Yard with Hal Needham's buddy Burt Reynolds.
I enjoyed The Longest Yard.
I mean, I'm not saying it's like a great movie, but that's a pretty solid piece of entertainment, at least.
Yeah.
And then it's just Death Hunt is like okay, but then it becomes Cannonball Run, Lassiter. I think we've mentioned Lassiter on other podcasts, which might actually, I don't know. I was gonna say it might be a future episode of Action Off, but it might just be too boring.
I don't think it's worth.
It's just
time.
not. It's just not fun enough. Like it's just not silly enough. I guess he did late in career produce $1 Million Baby. I did not know he was involved in that. So well, that's pretty good.
So, no, that is good. Let's give him his due.
30 years later, he had another hit. But yeah, he and Hal Needham do fall in, and then we've got these other. And then who's James Whittaker? Oh great. He had written before this Gray Lady Down.
Gray Lady Down. Oh, come on.
That's pretty good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Charlton Heston, David Carradine, not bad.
Well, it was also boring, and it was stretched out, I think, on TV to like 2 nights or something.
Oh, I believe it, man. That is kind of my memory of it too. It just falls in with all those other like war movies of that era, where you're just going like they're all a little too long, and they're all very full of themselves.
Gray Lady Down, wasn't that the sunken ship thing?
That was on the what is the plot of that?
I may be getting mixed up. Let me.
Gray Lady Down. Here we go. Gray Lady Down is about a Navy captain uses an experimental snark to reach a nuclear submarine stuck on an ocean ledge.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, the sunken part. That's what I was like. Yeah. I remember it was a combo. Not really so much of a.
Pretty good cast though. Heston, Carradine, Stacy Keach, Ned Beatty, Ronnie Cox, Superman's in it. Christopher Reeve.
Yes.
By the way, the year before he does Superman, he's in that in a small role.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, and then that's about it. This ended this guy's career. After this guy doesn't write anything after this. Because you don't get to work after.
You're not allowed. Sorry, so you're not allowed.
Well, and then I think it's really interesting that like all of the writers except for him are Hal Needham, Ruddy, and the other producer who this is like his only writing credit. So this is mostly written by producers.
Yeah.
And my favorite factoid from this movie, as I looked at the trivia here, I don't know, do you know this? The film has no costume designer.
Really?
all of the designs were done by the Mattel Corporation.
Oh,
everything was designed by the toy company, and there were a whole line of toys, of course. From talk about this is a movie made like.
Wait, were they released?
Yeah, you can go.
I don't remember seeing Megaforce.
You can go on. You can go online. I don't think they ever made like figures, but all the vehicles came out. I was looking at them in my research for this. I was looking at all the like. You can get the battle trucks and the tanks and the motorcycles and the planes.
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
So this whole movie was basically designed. I mean, in that like people talk.
Oh, they were made as Hot Wheels. They were Hot Wheels.
Yes.
So they weren't built for any kind of figures ever.
No, they never made figures, which is interesting. That they may have planned a line of figures and then went, well, then nobody saw that movie.
I like the way they have personnel carrier is one of them, and it is just the truck.
Yeah.
That at the very beginning, the very non-exciting truck that has the hologram thing on top of it. It's like, yeah, you mean that Jeep Wrangler or whatever it is, Cherokee, the very boring truck. Well, no, that's a personnel carrier, my son.
Yes, Mattel produced a Vertibird and Hot Wheels playsets based on the Megaforce.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they sold like crap. Because
that leads me to a game I normally play with Listman, but I'll play with you, Brendan. I want you to take your.
No, I'm here. Hey guys. You guys want me to play a game with you? That's fine. I'll play a game.
Famously very meek, quiet Michael Listman. He's gonna love listening to this.
Yeah, he's gonna absolutely destroy me for that. Anyway,
Brendan, this is Brendan's last appearance on the show.
All right.
I won't let. No. What do you think this movie cost? What's your estimate? This is a two-parter. Okay.
I'm gonna say okay.
What did it cost, and then what did it make? Because I have both of these figures.
I'm gonna say this movie cost $8 million.
Oh boy, Fox wishes.
And I'm gonna say it made $8 million.
Okay, well, once again, Fox wishes. This movie cost $20 million.
Oh,
and it made 5.6.
5.6.
5.6 on a $20 million budget. This thing was a colossal bomb. I mean,
you say that like it's a bad thing.
This was the first. Also, because I was fascinated. I did not know this. This was the first of 3 movies that were part of a co-production deal with Golden Harvest, the Chinese company.
Oh, that's interesting. Golden Harvest.
Yeah,
wow.
This was one of 20th Century Fox made a deal with Golden Harvest to co-produce 3 movies, and I have the titles of the other ones here, which I think were more successful, or at least they're more recognizable. It's somewhere in here. I've got all this stuff, and I'm scrolling through it.
No. You take
no, sorry. No, they weren't that successful, actually. We're just gonna keep bagging on Cell. Like High Road to China was the next one they did.
Oh, which I did give money to. All right.
Which is just poor man's Indiana Jones, right? That was I didn't take Indiana Jones, so I'll take the next thing. Okay. Blade Runner, which is a fucking masterpiece, obviously, but was a financial failure. And then The Protector with Jackie Chan, who was obviously their guy.
So one movie.
Yeah.
They got really one movie out of that.
They got one movie, because The Protector that was the first attempt at Jackie Chan coming to America, and basically was like, yeah, I don't want to do that again. And then when he came back, was like, I want to make sure I don't go through that experience again.
I don't even remember it. If I've seen it,
it's him fighting the mob, and it's Danny Aiello as the bad guy.
Man, as far as crossover stuff, it wasn't till Rumble in the Bronx.
Yeah, that was the first one. That was the first one I remember being like, oh shit, this guy's awesome.
Yeah.
And that was big. I will say I did watch as I often do, I did watch the Siskel and Ebert review of this, and they ripped this thing to shreds.
Well, I mean, they knew what they were talking about most of the time.
Yeah. I mean,
did they basically say what we're going to be saying?
They kind of did. Yeah, there's no movie here.
There.
And it was basically like, Hal Needham, we get it. You like things that go fast and blow up. But they go, it's just repetitive shots of things exploding or jumping over things.
Yeah.
And it is. It really, really is.
And the problem is, again, many problems, but the main one is that is all stuff that's fine. And for many people, like, the Farm Film Report on SCTV,
it blowed up real good.
Really do just like things that blow up real good. But what makes things blowing up real good, even if it's kind of repetitive or whatever, what makes that work is if you know what's being blown up,
well, that's
why it's being blown up and who's doing the blowing up. This movie takes no time to give us the characters other than their goofy code names and a little bit of banter, tiny little bits of banter, but we don't know who they are. Well, we don't know what anyone wants. As you pointed out, no one knows what the point of the movie is.
That's the thing that gets me about Ace Hunter, right? Everyone in the movie just talks about, this guy is the best ever. And he kind of never does anything that cool. Really.
No. Also, the only human structures that are in jeopardy in this movie happens at the very beginning, and it's clearly just a little set.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe a little village. And then when the major confrontation comes down, it's the middle of nowhere. So basically, it's like a war game that had no consequences. Yeah. This is not about someone taking over a country. It is, or whatever it is. It is literally just like, hey, let's stop that guy with the tanks with our cool buggies. That's it.
By the way, I'm so heartened by this because I watched this yesterday and go, I'm sorry, did I hit my head? Have I gone insane that I can't follow the plot of Megaforce?
No.
Because I went on, I went on Wikipedia because I wanted a plot summary to try to understand what the plot of this movie is. And
Did they help?
Kind of. I mean, I got the the story involves two fictional countries, the peaceful Republic of Sardun and their aggressive neighbor Gamimbia. Unable to defend themselves from a Gamimbian incursion, Sardun sends Major Zara and General Burnwhite to ask for the help of Megaforce.
Yes.
And they're going to destroy it's basically just one country.
Sardun is her country.
That is where Persis comes. She's the princess, right? Isn't she?
Yeah, she's the president's daughter.
The president's daughter. Yeah, exactly.
But she's also a military major.
Right. And so the Sardun has been invaded. They've been gone over the border is aggressive actions from their rival country Gamimbia, and they're like,
I would say both countries feature a lot of nothing.
Well, because one of the talk about a thing is like we have no idea where these borders are, and it's all just vast empty desert. So there's no feeling of
and it also looks
God.
like Megaforce, wherever they are located, seems to be like
down the
5
street.
minutes from both countries.
I know.
Somewhere out in a fucking desert.
When they take off, and it's all just shot in the deserts of Nevada. By the way, this movie was entirely shot in Nevada, where I'm sure they were just like, great open land where we can run some fucking tanks or something. But okay, the part that loses me is because I actually kind of understood that a little bit, where it's like, at least the idea of we're going to Megaforce because we're being invaded. At the very least, I kind of got that. What I did not get was once Megaforce had destroyed the enemy base, what the conflict was after that. Because it's like, oh no, Megaforce, if you come back over the border, World War III will break out.
I didn't even get that. I didn't even get that. I didn't know when a victory had been won at any point. I was sitting there going like, what? Well,
here's the thing. Eventually, Megaforce paradrops its attack vehicles and mounts a sneak attack against Guerra's forces. Yeah. Although they manage to destroy his base, they are told by General Burnwhite that Sardun has decided they will not be allowed to cross the border into their country because they consider Megaforce too dangerous a global organization.
Jesus. So then they're in trouble with the people who hired them?
Yes. They're like, great.
Jesus, I didn't get any of that. And again, maybe having her character, whatever her name was, Major blah, blah, blah.
Zara.
Maybe having her be a part of the team, she could have expressed this.
Yeah.
And it could have been more of a like, don't you get it? Da, da, da. They could have had dialogue scenes that explain this.
My only thought was...
There's really no dialogue in this movie.
No, there's almost no dialogue. There's really no... This is almost not a movie. And we've talked about some other movies on the action shelf before that are like, this is kind of just not a film. But this truly is like, nothing happens in this movie.
Nothing happens.
A lot happens and nothing happens. It's a movie with a lot of action and yet nothing happens. It's very fascinating.
I don't even think it has that much action because like they're pointing out...
It just has a lot of stuff.
When those vehicles roll out and then it becomes repetitive shots, and you're like going, okay, so that tank got fired on, this thing got fired on, the motorbikes are firing off rockets. What?
Okay.
At one point, a couple of people get rolled off their bikes, including our hero at a couple points. You're like, but no one dies.
Yeah,
it's like
that was also in the trivia, was something about like the couple people you could argue possibly died in this movie. Where is this? It's a funny thing here because they're talking about there are basically no. That is very G.I. Joe, obviously.
Yes, very G.I.
But there was a thing here about like where I'll find it here, but in a second. But apparently, the other thing about it, despite the battle scenes, not one person is seen dying on film. Only 3 men of Bazooka Squad are suggested to have been vaporized by the Megaforce control vehicle, which is operated by Hal Needham.
Yeah, he's in this movie.
He's in this movie and did stunts for this movie because he broke his ribs coming off of one of the motorcycles, apparently.
Really?
Yeah, that's also in the trivia.
I thought that the reason that we only see him on the inside of that, the control room and that laser tank or whatever, that was that he wasn't out there doing the hard stuff. But apparently he was out there doing the hard stuff.
Yeah. It cost $1 million for the motorcycles alone, apparently. They were just, what did Fox see in this? That they signed a check for $20 million, went, done. Done.
They saw the success of Star Wars.
Yeah.
They saw the success of
this would have been right at the time that G.I. Joe was starting, right?
yeah, so no, that's probably not what they factored in. They probably saw anything that had action figures and toys, like, again, Flash Gordon had already come out.
Yeah.
And I will say,
boy, this makes
Flash
Gordon.
is,
this makes Flash Gordon look so competent, so
the
tight and put together.
Of Flash on the Sky Cycle,
yeah,
are 85 times more convincing than Barry Bostwick on the Flying
I thought that
Cycle.
watching this, because I, as I've mentioned many times, I love Flash Gordon. I've seen it a million times.
I love it. You know, I have problems with it, but I love it.
It's so great. And once again, this movie makes that seem like Citizen Kane. You're going like,
it does.
What a tight, well thought out script.
Here's
with
another
great
thing
special
on this
effects.
One. Yeah, and design work out the ass. It's gorgeous to look at.
Well, that's a big thing that this movie is not pleasant to look at all.
No, this thing is in addition to like their vehicles and their clothes are all beige based.
Yeah, horrible.
Which would make sense if they're mainly fighting in deserts.
But
it's kind of a
But then Ace Hunter deploys
thing.
Then Ace Hunter deploys his parachute and it's a fucking rainbow.
Yep. And he's constantly wearing his powder blue headband.
Oh my god, that headband really places it in this year. By the way,
John, I gotta say, and here's my embarrassing admission, there was a time in the 80s, early 80s, when I was in junior high that I walked around with a red headband.
I believe it.
That had a tail, like it was a Rambo-ish headband. And
well, I mean, like I said, that I'm being serious about it. That places it in this time. It definitely does. Like that was that was a cool 80s look.
Not on me.
Well, and honestly,
I was trying.
Honestly, not on Barry Bostwick.
No, and also his hair is a huge problem.
Well, what's interesting?
I don't know what's going on with that hair.
I'll tell you what's kind of going on with the hair. So
I'm ready.
Barry Bostwick was cast in the movie because Albert S. Ruddy had seen him in a Broadway production of Pirates of Penzance.
Yeah.
And this is what he looked like in that. And he goes, "Now, when I do this, do you want me to take the hair and beard down?" And they go, "No. We want you to look just like you did in Pirates of Penzance."
That Pirates of Penzance production, which of course was huge, we owe a lot to it because it launched Kevin Kline. To a much lesser degree, it launched Rex Smith.
Yep.
So
you're talking about Daredevil himself? I mean, Barry Bostwick,
Street Hawk himself.
The thing that's interesting about Barry Bostwick is you're like, well, he's already done Rocky Horror, but Rocky Horror wasn't a hit when it came out.
No, it was not. No, it was a
so it's
literal.
The guy doesn't have a lot of heat on him at this point. And actually, also sadly point out in the trivia, it is 11 years before he appears in a theatrically released film again after this.
Youch.
I think this was a distinct. I don't think so. I will say,
but he did a lot of TV.
He did a lot. Well, he does the George Washington miniseries a couple years after, and that got him a lot.
I've mentioned before. I really liked it,
and he got a lot. I know he got a lot of praise for that. And then, of course, to me as a '90s kid, he is the mayor of New York from Spin City, and he's
fucking hilarious.
He's so funny on that show. He's so funny on there.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, I will say they are kind to him on Siskel and Ebert. They go, he is horribly miscast, but Gene Siskel goes, I've seen him on Broadway. He's an amazingly talented song and dance man.
And here's another thing on this: the only parts of this movie that work, as far as characterization, there are like 2 or 3, probably not improvised, but there are a couple of comedy beats, that are actually pretty funny. Where he's mocking Michael Beck's character for something, and it's a total non sequitur. But the way he plays it, you're like going, "This is not the guy you wanted for the awesome action lead."
He's a light comedy guy,
but you can tell he's funny.
Well, actually, something I did think is, why didn't they cast Michael Beck? He would have.
I will say Michael Beck is better.
I'm not saying he was great, but I'm saying coming off of the Warriors and stuff like that, he would be more believable as the action hero.
Yeah. And instead here, what I do love is the concept, for those who are not familiar, Megaforce is a multinational group.
Oh, do I have the thing? Let me see if I have the thing.
Do you have the whole
opening? I
explanation?
might here. Hold on.
I'm gonna give you a second.
They are the oh, I don't have it, unfortunately, but yes, they are a multinational organization.
All of the free nations of the world put money and resources into this non-aligned military group, but that non-aligned military group will go wherever these nations say we need you. So they get money from everybody, and of course they supposedly have the best of the best of each country's warriors.
Each country, it seems like, I don't know if this is literally the case, it seems like each country has sent their best guy singular, except for apparently Dallas comes from the Confederate states based on
oh man,
because they all have the flags
they
all have the flags of their countries on their uniforms. Barry Bostwick has the American flag, but fucking Dallas has the Confederate flag, and then later you see him putting the Confederate flag on his motorcycle.
Yes. Now that in the 70s read differently.
Well, because
I'm sure a lot of people in the 70s were the 70s and 80s. I'm sure a lot of people were offended by seeing that at all. But there was a national disregard for any shadings. They saw that as Southern pride.
Yeah.
So Leonard Skinnard, Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
It's like there were plenty of things where putting up a Confederate flag was not saying I'm racist, but saying I'm a proud Southerner.
No, it's one of those fascinating things though, where you see it now and you're like, that is horrifying.
Of course. I watched that and I was like, going, oh no,
oh god.
And what's funny is I'm Dallas, so all right, he's Texan, and Texans, okay, yeah, Confederacy, but Texans never really, they don't go in for a Confederate flag. It's not. They don't consider themselves the South. They're the West. So it just seems interesting that you got a Texan who's give him the
fucking Texas flag, which is iconic.
Yeah, you could have done the Texas flag.
Where was that?
Yeah. That would have been much better choice.
And by the way, of course, because it's Hollywood and it's just all Southern, Michael Beck from Memphis, not Texas.
Right, exactly.
He is a Southern
and
guy.
His accent and everything he ever did, it's there. Even in the Warriors when he's a New Yorker.
Yeah.
But clearly in Xanadu. And there you go, Xanadu. Oh, much better film with your
Actually, a future episode of the show, the Action Shell for sure, that is Michael Beck is in the same year, is a little film called Battle Truck.
Battle Truck I've never seen, but I've heard about it. So
Battle Truck.
Let me know how Battle Truck
I will let you know how Battle Truck. That's got him and John Ratzenberger in it. I love it.
Wasn't Battle Truck a pilot, maybe, like that they ended up just releasing as a movie?
Oh, it might have been. I will say this kind of felt like a pilot in a lot of ways.
It definitely could have been.
It's too big. I mean, like we're talking about the budget of it is big, and you can see that, although it's poorly used, but you can definitely, I can see money being wasted.
If they shrunk it down and not made them international, and instead they just wandered the U.S. helping people, then it would have been A-Team. It just would have been A-Team with like
it did have that vibe,
futuristic vehicles.
But it's so interesting that they are this international organization that is, but they're also secret, right? Like,
yeah.
So it's like the countries are putting money into it, but like on the down low. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because,
but I mean, they all know that all the free nations know it exists.
I've got to find
because they're supplying
title. Because
money.
The beginning of the opening title is so funny, where it's
but
like
no one knows where they are. Or something.
I gotta find this because they did something about like it's been confirmed now or something like that.
But then Dallas says something about like when they say where does all this stuff come from, and he goes, I don't know. They just back up a truck every now and then there's some cool stuff that comes off of it. You're like, well, that means that people know where you are. What the fuck is this? Then I got angry at Megaforce.
Oh, Megaforce is so nuts. This movie's crazy. The other thing, I have a Hal Needham quote here about this movie that is pretty great.
He goes, I put everything that was me into one film.
I mean, the first sentence, it's like no other movie ever made before. And the machines we've built are extraordinary. There's one other thing. Although there's a lot of action, you don't see anyone get killed. I think people are beginning to get sick of that kind of thing. What we've tried to do here is make an entertaining film with some believable heroes the public can cheer for. Believable heroes? What the fuck, man?
They're all cartoon characters. And that is not necessarily a complaint when it comes from me.
Yeah.
But they're a complete cartoon character that you never get to know or care about.
Well, I like that Ruddy's going, I decided I didn't want to do another Dogs of War type movie. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Dogs of War is pretty good, actually.
He just didn't want to do another one of those.
But I just like the idea. He goes, I wanted to be more camp, more of a spoof. But once again, but still believable. It's not. Oh, my God. Sorry, I just finished reading this statement right now. I wanted this to be more camp, more of a spoof, but still believable. Once we'd seen Barry, we knew right away he was just right for the part.
Oh my
He's
God.
really not. And literally,
No, he's not.
This movie
He's
does
not.
have a solid 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. No one. Because this movie's indefensible. It really is. It's like,
No.
you can be like, oh, whatever, I had fun with it or something. But no, it's just bad.
When they play up things like, the vehicles or something like that, that is something that, that might have been a selling point if you're just going to show off futuristic weaponry and have some sort of big battle scenes with this stuff. And I like a G.I. Joe aesthetic kind of thing where it's like,
I'm
look,
a
the
massive
good guys
G.I. Joe fan.
and Blackhawks, things
Yeah,
like that, where
yeah.
it's a fighting group.
Love it.
And they've got their own aesthetic because they're Sky Captain. I was like,
Yeah.
bring on Sky. These things I absolutely love. But that's not enough. It's not enough to say, look, we have cool paint jobs on our fancy dune buggies and motorcycles. And they shoot rockets and fly. I'm sorry, my friend. I also watched Galactica 1980. That's right. I watched the sequel to Battlestar Galactica, and they had flying motorcycles in that one.
I think I technically have that because it came in the Blu-ray box set of the original series, but I've never fired that thing up.
I'd say watch at least the first 2 episodes just so you get the taste. But
Yeah.
it is garbage if you don't have a story that does anything and characters that do anything. Because this, literally, they all have nicknames like those kinds of groups we're talking about.
Yeah.
But there is nothing defining them.
Well, there's
this one little bit on the
what got
plane,
me.
the cargo plane, and they're like, oh, that guy. Oh, well, they introduced the guy, Zachary Taylor.
Oh,
and they're
yeah.
like, oh, he is a genius. So he talks a lot about classical music and he knows everything about everything. And he can solve a Rubik's Cube in 2 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's a French guy who goes, I only think about women.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh boy, that's a real groundbreaker. They have these
A
dumb...
horny French guy? Never before is the cinema scene.
I will say the Asian guy is not even given a personality other than he's like, I'm just their friend. And you're like,
Yeah.
great. He doesn't have a distinguished... So who are these people? There's really just Ace and Dallas.
Yeah.
And Michael Beck was never a great actor. I'm sorry, but
but
I like him.
I like him, and like I said about him being a better Ace Hunter, it's just he had the look. You at least go, yeah, okay, that guy belongs in like a comic book kind of action thing.
Sure. I mean, he's a scrawny guy, but then again, Barry Bostwick is this tall.
Well, that's the thing that got me about Barry Bostwick is he's in the skin tight uniform, and he's not a heavyset guy. He's not doughy, but he's so skinny, and it just emphasizes how tall and lanky
he's
he
skinny
is.
and tall, and I'm willing to bet at that point, at the height of his health. So I'm sure that guy probably played a lot of tennis or whatever, or jogged.
He's very fit, but
he's fit, but he's not a superhero in this.
No,
he's just not.
That's the
But
thing.
he sure has the hair of a superhero.
Good Lord, does he
It's
ever?
this feathered helmet, a feathered helmet of hair.
It
Then
is-
they do the thing about what was killing me on this is that he's got the headband, right?
Yeah.
Headbands, generally speaking, you tie it around your hair. It's to keep it out of your eyes.
Yeah.
If you have bangs and they fall over the headband,
Well, I was gonna say
that's fine.
it wouldn't be a problem because that hair's not going anywhere. That helmet
No,
of
that
hair.
thing, it's shaped. But in this movie, his headband goes and then it disappears under the hair.
Yeah.
That means that Hunter, who is this badass warrior, is spending all this time before he goes out anywhere because he has to have lifted up layers of hair to tie his headband under it and then let the hair come down over it. So all you see is the tail stick out of the back of his head.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck is this?
I also,
aesthetic?
since we're on the looks and uniforms, I want to talk about their Megaforce dress uniforms as well.
Yes, yeah,
which are
those
also
are sweet.
Those are amazing. They're a little movie Star Trekky, and they have the chest flap that opens and down. They're a little bit that, but they're pseudo navy, but they have turtlenecks. Or are
I would say
are they
they look
ascots?
closest to me. They look a lot like anime dress uniforms,
Yes.
like in Starship Yamamoto,
Yes.
like Star Blazers, that thing, because it is playing off like old naval uniforms, but the bright blue, bright red flap, and the turtleneck under it, the high collar. I'm like, wow, they walked out of an anime.
They really did, and actually, this would be more enjoyable as an anime. It has that sort of. It still wouldn't work, but it definitely has the logic and pacing of an anime for sure.
It actually even has kind of the plot and aesthetics of the anime. So if this had been an anime, I bet it would have been awesome, because they would make up for a lot of the flatness of the way the action's directed, the stunt work, all that. And I'm sure that they'd make up for all the gaps in storytelling with just crazy visuals. Well, this doesn't do that.
And actually, an anime would probably, this movie could have used some of the anime, like, you are my best friend, but we must fight.
Yeah.
You know, like it could have used.
Exactly.
I needed that information, even if it was flatly stated.
Well, they did lead into that. It wasn't like out of the blue, but at the same time, you're just like, I don't even know, and I love the guy, but I don't know what Henry Silva's doing here.
I'm so glad, because that's where I wanted to go next, was Henry Silva, who is, I think he's having a good time, that's clear. But
yes, he is.
There is no character to play. He is wildly different in personality and tone from scene to scene.
He seems to be going for the kind of camp that, years later you would have Raul Julia doing as M. Bison.
Yes, in a movie that I enjoy much more than this movie.
And I'll go with you there, because I don't like that movie, but that movie is a lot more fun to watch than this.
It's more tonally consistent at the very least, and makes more sense.
And I will say Raul Julia delivers.
I mean, he's the main reason I watched that movie at all, obviously. He's incredible in it. But
this thing is Henry Silva going like, am I supposed to be kind of South American? And they're like, I don't know, something like, what if Fidel Castro was kind of a bro? And that's what he went with. It was like, and my cigar. It's like, his comedic second in command guy who does he's like, I want you to shut up now while I blow up a building. Ha ha! And you're like, what? But
the other thing that got me about it is he does have this like Fidel Castro, but he's not the leader of this country. He too is just a mercenary, right?
Right. Yeah.
So we get no sense of this Gamimbia.
Yeah, we don't get the.
We never get any sense of it. So it's just so funny to me that they would dress him up like a classical sort of warlord type, but then also shouldn't he be in like a black jumpsuit or something like that? Like, I mean, I want it to be that G.I. Joe versus Cobra kind of vibe, you know?
Yes. No, we really don't ever see him, do we, when he's not in the field? I don't know. Is there a scene with him having dinner somewhere? I think it's always him in a tank.
Like literally I think like the very first scene of the movie is him doing that speech on the tank.
Yeah, well, actually, he's listening to the second in command guy give the official speech to the locals about, you are being freed by the great people of blah 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 and and you will do what we say, and he's going on too long, and then Henry Silva steps down and then just tells him to shut up, and he goes, fire! And then his men blow up a local, I don't know, power plant or something.
Once again,
that's to announce
who knows or who just care.
Yeah, I know. We don't know where they are, who they are, why what they're doing is good or bad. So that's not a good way to start a movie. Oh God! And then we're introduced to two people we don't know, and we don't know what their thing is. We're introduced to Major Zara and the prissy British guy who. I like him. Who is he again? That character actor?
That is Edward Mulhare.
I like Edward Mulhare. He is given nothing here, man.
I mean, certainly something I grew up obsessed with. Knight Rider, he was on.
Yes, he was on Knight Rider. Didn't he do? Wasn't he in a version of Dr. Moreau?
Oh, he might have been.
I think maybe a TV movie. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I mean, he's one of
know him
those
from other
guys looking at his IMDb in a billion, every TV
Oh
show.
yeah, no, he had a huge long career.
Yeah.
And of course,
And he's good. He's good in this because I mean, as much as you
he's
can
good,
be.
but they have made him be the comically prissy British guy. Even though he's a military commander, he's like, well, I certainly not being treated with much respect or decorum. Oh my. Oh, we're in the desert. Oh, it's so hot.
But
Like,
that's the
oh,
thing that got me
poor
is then when
guy.
he does the thing about like you guys can't come back over the border, I thought, wait, he's crooked? He's screwing them? No,
Yeah,
but no.
yeah.
Like at the same time, it's so weird. Like because then he's all
Don't worry, they blow up his fancy plane that they'd mocked him about.
But
if you were worried that he wouldn't have his fancy plane blown up, don't worry.
But then he's
It gets
kind of
blown up.
happy about that. It's weird. He's still
Well,
like,
he's like, oh, you got me good, Hunter.
that Ace Hunter.
I can't bring myself to hate him.
Just I want to, but he's just so charming, and
I can see his penis.
Well, the other
Not
thing
even trying; it's just right there.
I mean, the certainly, yes, you can clearly see Barry Bostwick's penis. But what actually got me more, weirdly, was there's a scene.
What got me more?
What got me more is how tight this thing is. You can make out each individual ass cheek.
Yeah, no, you are.
And there's, I mean, and the crack, like I have a clear idea of every inch of Barry Bostwick's body after this movie.
Yeah, I was actually after I saw this film as a youngster, I was able to contact his publicist to let him know I saw some disturbing things. I was like, have him check that lump.
Actually, come to think of it,
I saved his life. Thanks to me doing Megaforce in that tight lycra spandex outfit, a young fan actually noticed a disturbing lump on one of my testicles.
Now let's talk about this movie. Pioneered a new kind of filmmaking,
and you can see it. It's all up on.
This is
they announced it.
Introvision. Introvision. So this was the first attempt at what we would now know as the volume, right? This was a process of a composite of live action and plate photography through which the camera's viewfinder on set and in real time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, it was like rear projection in a way, because this allowed them to be like, we're riding our bikes and you're seeing footage behind us. We're just not out there.
Introvision enjoyed the novelty of visual effect compositing in camera, thus eliminating the need to wait for photochemical compositing to determine if the effect shot was successful. So the difference is they still can't see what's behind them, but you can through the camera.
Right. And the director gets a good idea of like, oh, this isn't working at all.
Right.
Which should have been the whole thing. He should have looked at the first of those shots and gone, no, this isn't working.
Yeah.
And then they wouldn't have announced this at all. Because it doesn't it's not successful for its time.
This was the second film to use it, the first being Outland with Sean Connery.
Oh, yeah.
Which looks better. I don't know if that's to say they used the technology better or just had more money, but I don't remember that movie looking as embarrassing as this.
Well, I don't think it was going for the same.
A little bit different tone in that movie. But and also
Outland is one of those that I will say that's one I actually I like it, but that's one that could be remade because they didn't
100%,
nail it.
100%. I do really like that movie, but I agree.
The idea of a high
premise,
noon in space is a great concept, and I just think it was too boring to tell you the truth.
I do like that movie. A lot of that is, I think,
it's Connor.
It's got
who's playing it rock solid and earnest.
Yeah, I think that's key to that. Is I do think I am want to like any movie with Sean Connery. So I just love the man.
And I like that one, but that one is one you could.
I agree. That
come in and redo.
That is ripe for a remake. The last time it was used was in the shot of Harrison Ford running away from the train, and The Fugitive apparently used it.
Oh.
Well.
I remember that being pretty good, but again, that's been years since I've seen it.
Well, they talk about, this is described, done well, the illusion was nearly perfect if you used precise lighting and careful miniature set construction, like they did on The Fugitive. They did not do that here. They used it, apparently Army of Darkness used it, Darkman used it. I mean, some movies still used it. It got used, but it's only in a few, really.
Yeah, and I will say use whatever works, but also just be aware that whatever its weaknesses are, budget and lack of care are two things you're still going to have to deal with. So any tool, but use the tool right. Otherwise, you're sitting there going like, that just doesn't work at
Another
all.
piece of trivia I loved is that they went to the U.S. Army for their participation, and the Army said,
Nice.
absolutely not.
Well, good.
We looked at the script and said, we will in no way involve any of
I
our
do love
vehicles
when-
or... Are you
When
kidding
Dallas
me?
has taken Zara and the Brit through the warehouse to show off all the
All of
fancy
that, by
vehicles.
the way, all of that, none of that is a set. That's all done with this. There is no HQ. I don't know if you picked up on that.
Actually, here and there I didn't.
It looks
But I
good.
will
It looks
say-
good in some shots and terrible in other shots. I will
Yeah.
agree.
But it was just sort of like, I do like that they gave the British guy the line of something like, these are from all over. And
Yeah.
he's like, yeah. And that's to drive home the fact that I think they literally, grabbed footage or background elements from wherever. So you're looking at a Chinese bomber next to a Russian fighter jet or whatever it is.
Right.
And there's no uniformity of those, unlike the dune buggies and the bikes. You're just like going, really, it's just a whole bunch of whatever they could find.
I have the motorcycle budget. I don't know what the dune buggy budget was, but it's got to be pretty big too.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of
But
dune
I do
buggies
love
in
the
this
way
movie.
they're implying that this base is like, there's 7 floors. It goes, it's like as high as a small mountain or whatever. And it is a sausage fest for one thing. Major Zara is the only female that's ever been in the Megaforce building, it looks like. But they're implying that it's this huge group. And when you see them go to battle, maybe 20 bikes, maybe 5 to 10 dune buggies.
Yeah. Oh,
And you're like,
Barry,
I'm sorry. I
I
thought it was a
think-
huge army.
I think this is a little too... Barry Bostwick claimed the Pentagon tried to stop the movie because the film Strike Force was too close to covert CIA strike forces in existence.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah, I don't think that's true. Yeah, they wanted to shut
we
us
also
down.
have hologram projectors on our
Oh.
Jeeps.
Let's
And
let's talk about Dallas's sexy hologram.
what does he call her? Katie? Carrie something?
Yeah, it's something like that. And just immediately you're just like, I just love the way he goes like, and we can make anything with these holograms. It's like, but you're making porn. So
Yeah.
great.
But we haven't even really started the movie. I mean,
We're not really gonna,
basically-
we don't really,
no, we
there's
don't
no
have
plot
to.
here. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. But basically, yeah, the two outsiders are brought into Megaforce by Dallas, who came out in the personnel carrier, or as we call it, the truck. It is just a Ford Bronco or something. I don't know, whatever.
He is introduced shooting a snake.
He shoots a snake, which didn't bother her at all. I mean, she's sitting there. She's amused by the whiny British guy while a snake approaches her.
Yeah, what
Then
is this
Dallas
guy-
blows it away.
Did we get an answer to what this guy is not from the country, obviously, right? Or he's
No, I would assume that this fictional country is partnered with the UN, possibly the Brits.
yeah.
Maybe it's part of the British Empire because at this point there was still such
Hey
a
man,
thing,
almost
supposedly.
anything you could say could be the case because this movie has no details at all in it.
No
That's
details.
the thing where you're like, I'm going like, yeah, that could probably be the case.
So Dallas drives up and the personnel carrier is like, "Hi," and they're like, "Wait, are you the guy from Megaforce?" He says, "That's right, my name's Dallas. Hey, how you doing?" And
Hi y'all, I'm a offensive caricature that
yep,
I
he's
will
got
say
a cowboy hat on,
I
and he's a good old boy.
I have a Michael Beck quote about this that's pretty great. When here it is. He said, to say the least, it's not the kind of movie you look for at the Oscars. On the other hand, it paid me and my family enough to buy our first house, so I'm not about to knock it.
I love actors that say stuff like
Yeah,
that.
he's like,
One thing I always love actors that are self-aware of like, yeah, I've done a lot of shit.
you know, but they paid me, man, and I bought a house with it, so you're not gonna hear me say anything bad about Megaforce.
Good on you, Michael Beck.
I respect that.
Again, you've made 2 movies at the very least that I thoroughly enjoy, and I do include Xana doing that.
Oh, man,
it's terrible, but no,
there
I
are
love
parts.
it.
There are parts of it I really like. I will agree. With
I
you on
like
that.
the music, and
I do
it's
think
a
the music is pretty good.
Stupid ass movie from the 70s.
It does
that
have
does
Gene
not
Kelly
hurt
in
me.
it, and I will
It
say that
doesn't hurt me.
the Gene Kelly of it all is similar to the Connery thing too. Where I'm like, okay, I do like Gene
Yeah.
Kelly.
Yeah, and he's not embarrassed by it.
No,
though I never thought I'd see him in a tuxedo on roller skates. But
but you know what? He's that fucking cool. He kind of pulled it off.
He pulls it off, and you're like, that guy's hanging together at that point.
Anytime he's in that movie, I'm enjoying it because he's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I am, that's an admitted not good movie. I'm not gonna say guilty pleasure. I'm just gonna say I enjoy it. All right.
I don't. You know what? I don't go in for the guilty pleasure shit. Really, I think if you like something, just like it, and I think that's fine.
Thank you, John. That is my affirmation for the day. But in this case, this is not a Michael Beck film I enjoy. But anyway, so they get in the thing, and he's like going. They're like, oh, so where do we go? There's nothing around here. He goes, well, you'd be surprised because some of these rocks ain't real as holograms. And let me show you our hologram projector on this truck. And then there's a sexy hula lady on a beach suddenly. And they're like, what?
You like
and he
what
goes,
you see
that's
there?
scary. And he waves at her. She waves back. I don't know. Is that something that he just knows, like, the timing of it? Oh, she's about to do the wave. I'll wave first.
Like this is like him working at like an amusement park where he knows that's his cue to go.
Yeah,
hi there.
Exactly.
This is all part of the tour.
This is where they're talking to C-3PO before you go on Star Tours.
Yeah.
Anyway, which I used to fucking love Star Tours, but
Star Tours is awesome.
So this thing is stupid, but then also he is a stereotype. But then they want to blow a stereotype apart because this truck is actually driven by Zachary Taylor, the character name, and he's an African-American gentleman who's totally incredibly intelligent. He like has headphones on. They go, what are you listening to? Like pop music, disco or something? He's like, actually it's Beethoven's or Vivaldi. It's he goes, what season? He goes, spring. So,
don't you fucking stereotype me, man.
Yeah, he's like, I'm incredibly intelligent. And Dallas keeps calling him different names like, hey, Einstein, hey, Beethoven, hey, Shakespeare. Like, that's funny.
All right. This is Ralph Wilcox is the guy who plays Zach.
Seen him in a lot of stuff.
Well, he is in oft mentioned and threatened to cover on the show Burt Reynolds in Cop and a Half.
Oh, dear God. That poor man. But again, maybe that bought his family a house. So
I mean, that is we make fun of these movies, but Listman and I always do bring up a working actor is a successful actor. You know, especially if you're like a character actor, you can't really I mean, you're going to be in good stuff, bad stuff. By the way, this guy still working to this day. He was on Atlanta and Black Lightning recently. So,
like I'm saying, I have seen this guy for a long time. Yeah, he has a very distinctive face.
He's got a ton of IMDb credits.
But anyway, so they drive into the Megaforce headquarters, which is also out in the desert. Everything's out in the fucking desert. And when they go in, they show off the fancy toys. The Major Czar is like, wait a minute. Isn't that new laser missile? I didn't think that'd been finished. Oh, well, we got it in advance. Isn't that the Russian thing that hasn't been? Oh, well, we've got a few of those. They're blown away. And then they're like, and there's so many people who work here. No ladies, because that would get us horny. And over here is Egg.
Yeah, maybe they should bring some women in so he isn't jerking off to hologram porn in the desert.
Egg is another familiar character actor.
Oh, yeah.
And he is the brainiac.
He's their Q, right?
He's their Q.
Yeah, this is George Firth, Egg, or Professor Eggstrom.
Okay.
Who is a
man? They worked hard on that. They worked really hard.
His name's Professor Eggstrom. We call him Egg.
The thing is, again, we say this a lot. At that point, when the writers came up with his name as Eggstrom and they call him Egg, that's when they were like going, "We're breaking for lunch. We know we're going home early today," because they were so pleased with that. They're like going, "That was a good day's work."
Yeah, we can put away the typewriter now. This guy is also in. He was just in Cannonball Run before this, also for Hal Needham, obviously.
Perfect.
The classic. I kind of enjoy the first Cannonball Run. It's stupid, but I kind of enjoy it. Cannonball Run 2, I can't get behind. But this guy is also in, I know, a shared favorite of us, The Man with Two Brains.
Man with Two Brains? Come on. It's not a shared favorite of us. It's a shared favorite of the entire world.
Yeah, but I agree, but I don't hear enough people talking about it. That movie is hilarious.
I think it is one of the forgotten ones. Everyone remembers The Jerk, which is rightfully so. Rightfully so. But that seems to be, and a lot of people remember Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, but weirdly, not enough people mention Man with Two Brains.
And that is just, boy, you want to just talk about like laughs per minute in a movie. God damn,
Kills me.
that movie is amazing. Go watch that, folks. Don't watch this.
Yeah. And we're gonna wrap it up. Thanks for listening.
Watch Megaforce. Yeah, if we're leaving anything, go watch Man with Two Brains. What else is? Oh, okay, all right. I am just going through. This is the fewest amount of notes because I was just writing just the insane things because a lot of it is like, what would I write? More explosions happen.
These guys shoot at these guys shoot it back.
I do want to talk about romantic skydiving though.
Oh Jesus. Well, eventually, all right. So
they meet the Meg.
So
actually,
is their intro, and they're like, "So do you run this place?" He goes, "No. In fact, here comes the boss man now." They do like a hero reveal thing, which is so fucking stupid.
Well, he has to enter by doing. Doesn't he enter by doing a motorcycle jump?
Yeah,
because it's a Hal Needham movie. How else do you introduce a character?
Right, motorcycle jump, and then comes down, does like a spin, gets off of it, takes off his helmet, and just like the hair is whipped back, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Ace Hunter," and then she's automatically like, "Oh my god, I can see his bulge," and he's automatically like, "That is, I believe, a female." So they are. I mean,
that is the thing about it is the movie not only lacks killing, but despite the fact I can see his penis the whole movie. Completely asexual. This is a real kid idea of a romance. I mean,
holy shit! I just remembered. Yes, I did hear the how did this get made about it? Because one thing they kept talking about is the romance in this movie seems to be between Hunter and his enemy guy because they keep talking about "I love you," and
there's way more heat there.
Yeah, and there are even Dallas and Hunter seem to have more going on.
Yeah. No,
but
they don't.
That is funny.
They don't. Well, I mean, once again, Persis Khambat is a block of wood and
a very, very beautiful block.
Oh, she's a stunning. But it is like when you go like, oh, she was famous in India for some coffee ad that she had done. You're like,
I think she
that
was
adds
like
up.
A Miss Universe or something.
I totally see that. She's gorgeous. She apparently did. I see on her IMDb trivia. Audition for the lead role in Octopussy. Thank God that didn't happen. They went Maud Adams. Maud Adams much more.
Sure, she's a better actress.
And
I will say there's
Roger Roger always loved Maud best of all.
Oh, did he?
Well, she's in 2 of his movies. She's in Man with the Golden Gun and Octopussy.
That's true.
And she technically even. Oh boy, if Gorgoni was here, he'd be like, "Stop talking about Bond." She does actually have a brief walk-on cameo in View to a Kill, even because Roger just loved having her around.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much about Maud Adams today. I didn't think I'd know.
Look, if you talk to me, odds are you're going to learn a lot about anyone in Bond movies. Anyway, yes, that doesn't help.
I need to know more about Miriam Dabo.
Sure. Was she really playing the cello?
That is, can she really skate down a hill, sled down a hill in a cello case?
Oh man, what a great scene. But when he drives the car and it's got the ski shack on it. It's great. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that is what this movie. I mean, actually, here's Hal Needham talking about the movie, going, "We were kind of trying to do a version of James Bond done with a hell of a lot less budget and no Roger Moore, who he had just worked with on Cannonball Run."
Yep.
But it was a high-tech good, and then really shudder with the. But I can totally see Hal Needham saying this. It was a high-tech good right-wing film.
Oof.
Yeah.
Well, I will say,
it's pretty apolitical though because it exists in no space.
It's fantasy place versus fantasy place, and they are an international group. Even though our lead is wearing an American flag on his arm. But they all have various little flags. It doesn't end with them going, "Yeah, USA." It ends with them going, "Megaforce."
Well, Barry Bostwick did say, you know what's good about this film? It's plausible. Someday there could be a Megaforce, he said.
Barry, stop. Just stop.
That had to be during press for the movie, right? He couldn't have said that
I think anything
recently.
that he would say about it was during that period because
I did see
Why
him.
would he continue to talk about this movie at all?
I've recommended before this documentary called In Search of Tomorrow, all about 80s science fiction movies. And
I keep forgetting.
It's great. I love both In Search of Darkness and In Search of Tomorrow. One's about horror, one's about sci-fi, of the 80s, and it's great. They're like 3+ hours long, and they're just crack for people like me. The other people be like, but Bostwick does talk about this on there, and he's like, he basically is just kind of like, I don't know. Like, what do you want to hear? I did what they asked me to. And he did say on there, as I see here in the trivia, he was signed to a 3-movie deal to return as Ace Hunter. This was a planned trilogy of Megaforce movies.
Gotcha.
And they were they had a script and were actively scouting locations when this movie opened and bombed and they shut it down. It was to be Ace Hunter in a tropical setting, and they were going to film in the Virgin Islands, apparently.
Great.
Yeah.
Just think about what we missed.
And the title would have been Megaforce: Deeds Not Words.
Great.
Yeah.
I will say they're positing this group as having some great idealistic backbone or undercurrent. This group is just a bunch of doofs with toys that fight another group.
Well,
I mean, there's not anything political in it. It is apolitical, which is bad.
When we get to their big thing, they just go in and blow up a bunch of stuff. But the big thing, oh my god, I love the big attack on the bad guy's base. And he goes, "We're gonna do it in 4 minutes." And you know that because they put the countdown.
They put the timer.
That's how goddamn good he is. Now this is something that.
This movie, by the way, instead of building character through dialogue, there are about 2 segments that go on way too long of them saying like, "Our plan is to do this." And they use holograms for one, and another is just literally him standing in front of people saying we're going to do blah blah blah.
And they love that. They love that little dotted line computer board.
Because that was fancy for 1992.
Yeah,
that was mind blowing.
Well, you can tell based on the way Hal Needham is filming. They're going,
Dallas loves to put up like a cartoon pig hologram that just cracks him up. It does.
Man,
it cracks him up.
I do feel bad for Michael Beck. He has some of the most embarrassing stuff in this movie.
Yeah, they're wanting to play Dallas as a real bumpkin, as like he's on there probably because he's a good soldier, but he's kind of an idiot doofus, and so they keep asking him to play
in the A-Team thing. He should be the face man, but he doesn't have the suaveness of the face man.
He should be either face man or Mad Dog Murdoch, and he's not. He doesn't have enough.
And that leads
character
to the Roger Ebert complaint that I agree with, where he goes, "This movie either needed to be way funnier to be a spoof, or way more exciting to be an action movie."
That is absolutely correct.
And he's
like, absolutely right.
And that's how I feel about the character of Dallas, where it's like, he can be goofy, but you need to back it up with, Howling Mad Murdoch was fucking crazy, but he was a great pilot. Like,
yep.
You said that earlier, and we kind of just jumped, but like, that was the thing that baffled me, is they have code names, but no one has any specific skills.
No.
Or if they do, it's the guy who's a genius, but that genius intellect never plays into the plot.
Nope.
It's because that's the thing with the G.I. Joe, right? They all have G.I. Joe is hilarious because they all have one thing specifically that they do.
Yeah, it is a little ridiculous.
Yeah, but that's
it's
fun.
Like this guy is the guy who lays underwater mines.
Yeah.
That's very important, but he's going to be garbage to us in this desert fight.
I did always like Quentin Tarantino talking about Men on a Mission movies, and he always just goes like, well, it's kind of a bad idea to have one guy who does each thing, because if that guy dies, then it's like, well, our explosives expert died. I guess we don't get to use explosives now.
Yeah. In this case, though, they all just seem to be, I mean, they can ride the bikes.
Yeah, they're all good at
They can ride the dune buggies. They do whatever Ace does.
Well, there's no physical action. They're all just in the thing shooting at stuff.
The difference is when you're in the dune buggy, you wear a red helmet that has a cool speaker cable plug into the side of your head. We don't quite know what that's about, but it's there.
You would see it a lot. And then at a certain point, they can all just turn on smoke that comes out of their motorcycles in different colors. And that does, I don't know what that does.
That, I could only, because they do that as if it's like, all right, that's our fail safe. We're in trouble. Hit those, and all I can think is all that is a smoke screen, I guess. And the different colors, just for fun, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's effective. Smoke screen.
Dun, dun. And boy, I want to.
I like seeing the rockets like firing off of those. I will say
I liked it.
I like seeing the stunt bikes with rockets firing off of them.
Like
here's a problem.
The first 3 times it happens, I was cool with it. Then it happens 18 more times.
Here's another problem. Maybe they should be swivel and targeting instead of the only way they can fire at something not directly in front of them is by doing really exaggerated long wheelies.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
like if there's here comes a jet or something, they have to do this ridiculous wheelie just to get their cannons to be pointed up towards the air.
Yeah, and it is sort of like it's either like it can be straight ahead or straight up. No other options are available.
Yeah. I was the wheelies going, okay, that does prove you guys are master bike riders, but at the same time, that's just impractical in battle. You should always have turrets, whether it's rocket launchers or machine guns, that can pivot, that can go around.
Well, I want to talk later about how Ace Hunter is controlling the spin of the flying motorcycle. That makes no sense, but
Oh yeah, and I also there was the stealth mode on the Doom buggy that actually does nothing.
No.
They're like going, well, this is pretty awesome. Look at this. It's photosensitive. And Dallas's hat is sitting on the top of the hood of one of the Doom buggies. When he takes the hat off, where the hat was is now a flat black surface.
Yeah.
So I guess that could be stealth, but does that mean they have to put a giant hat over the entire thing to make it totally black in the middle of the night? I don't know what the stealth mode was. It was dumb.
Yeah, this movie's pretty dumb. I don't know if you picked up on that.
Oh, yeah, that did occur to me. Is that perhaps movie is dumb.
I want to talk about Gerald Immel and his score for this movie that is at all times trying to tell you this is the coolest shit that's ever been put on film.
It is. It's a bad combo. It is a score that's trying really hard to sell the movie.
Yeah.
It's a score that is relentlessly hero music.
Nonstop. To the point where
nonstop.
That's the thing where it's like everything is equally exciting according to the music.
And then it's also just bad scoring. So the problem is that scores that are working really hard, if they are good, you can basically tip your hat and go, man, that guy really was bringing it. This is someone who it's just bad, but he's like going, I understand the assignment. Bum, 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 bum. And you're like, there's nothing going on here.
So this guy, Gerald Immel, this is one of like 3 movies he ever scored. He was a TV guy. He actually got his first gig was scoring the last 2 seasons of Gunsmoke.
Sweet.
But he ended up the main
longest running shows of all time.
Yeah, the last 2 seasons are like, what? That's barely a blip in that show.
Those last 2 seasons, Marshall Dillon never got off the chair.
I was gonna say he did have to.
He stopped a lot of bad guys by leaning forward and shooting.
Got to stop that guy. Give me a second. Okay.
Here I come.
But he was his big claim to fame was he was the main composer on Dallas. He composed the Dallas theme and was the main. So I mean that
is a great theme,
and it's iconic. And then he goes on to be one of the main guys on Walker, Texas Ranger. Their score.
I don't know what their score is, even though I watched a couple episodes.
I don't know the score. I do know the theme song because it's very stupid. He also did Knots Landing, which I guess makes sense from Dallas to Knots Landing.
Yep.
Makes sense. And I just because I want to bring this show up because I'm sure you remember it.
Too Many Cooks. Yeah, he also did the theme to Too Many Cooks.
He did the score for Voyagers! !
Voyagers. Oh, John Eric. Is that his name? John Eric Hexum?
John Eric Hexum is right, as Phineas Bogg.
Oh, poor dude. He's the guy who blew his own head off accidentally.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody out there, I don't know who's listening to this podcast. Don't play Russian roulette with a gun, even if it's loaded with blanks.
They always bring that up in the him, Brandon Lee, and then now this thing on the Alec Baldwin movie. And the thing that's crazy is all 3 of them radically different scenarios.
Yeah.
All, but still... Now leading to people going, maybe there shouldn't be guns in movies, period.
As a kid, I liked Voyagers.
Well, of course, because
it was only 1 season.
It was 2, technically.
Oh, was it 2?
I think it was like a shortened, one of those like mid-season and then a second season. Yeah, like one of those things. Because they only did 20 episodes total.
It was action adventure Doctor Who.
It was, and it was one of those. It was in that era when they're like playing around with like we think we can do a science fiction show, but we don't know what it is exactly. And I am fascinated by those shows of the 80s. Anyway, back to this movie. Well, and actually, on the point of his score, let's talk about that romantic skydiving scene, because that's where we get the love theme to Megaforce. The most romantic skydiving scene put on film, I think.
Oh my god. This is kind of the capper to the training montage, right?
Yeah, well, because yeah. Oh wait, is this before or after we get
Actually, it may be before.
I think this might be the first of it, because I think it's the tank thing and then their little silhouette.
So the silhouette scene, which I'm sure Needham's like going, this is going to be the one they talk about. It's this big romantic scene, but they're only seen in silhouette.
Yeah.
But anyway, this has Ace Hunter in one of their planes, and he's giving long-winded instructions on how to skydive to Major Zara, who clearly is humoring him. And he goes, "Do you understand?" She goes, "Yep," and then jumps out. Because the gag is, she already knows how to, and he's like, oh shit, she's getting away without me. Then he dies after her, and then they're trying real hard to Superman the movie out of this. Nothing more romantic than two people plummeting towards the earth and reaching out for each other, and then, letting their chutes open.
And Gerald Immel's instrumental score, he wrote this as the love theme. And yes, this is in the trivia. He reached out to Carly Simon to write and perform lyrics to accompany it. And as it says here, she declined. I believe it says after some consideration. It's like by that 30 seconds of Carly Simon's going nowhere near fucking Megaforce. Are you out of your mind?
The thing is, that is one of those pieces of trivia where you think, why include this? And it's because of the way it pays off.
Yeah.
Had she done a theme, we would be mocking it, no doubt.
Oh,
it would have been horrible.
Even as great as Carly Simon was, she wasn't going to make this work.
No. So the idea that they do this, like, this was his thing, and he's presenting it to her, like, with your kind permission.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then her going, nope.
No.
I fucking love it.
She paused briefly, so that's why you can say she considered it.
She considered it.
She took an inhale in there, and she goes, I think that was her considering it.
Somehow, when the theme starts playing at the end, the actual Megaforce theme that has lyrics,
that
80s hit, it wasn't a hit, but it did play on the radio.
Well, I do see, you're talking about Megaforce by 707.
Yep.
It did reach number 12 on the Billboard charts.
I remember hearing it on the radio.
And it does feature keyboards by Jonathan Cain of Journey.
God damn
They got Journey's keyboardist to do the keyboard on it.
Well, I gotta say, it's catchy.
I do like it. I will say I do like it. It's not good, but I like it, The
lyrics are literally something like coming on like a Megaforce. I mean, it's one of those great themes where please put the name of the movie somewhere in there to where it makes sense. Like Man in Motion, St. Elmo's Fire.
Oh, yeah.
The whole thing is that guy had written the song Man in Motion, and it had nothing to do with St. Elmo's Fire.
Well,
and then
I mean,
like,
speaking
want to make it the theme song. Okay, so I'll put the words like St. Elmo's Fire in there.
Speaking of Carly Simon, nobody does it better, right?
No, but that was written for the movie.
It was, but the Spy Who Loved Me is just kind of jammed in there.
Yeah, but she knew going in that she would be including that.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I'm talking about a song that the guy had completely written, finished, and they're like, "Oh, we want to put this in the movie." He's like, "All right, I'll cram a lyric in about St. Elmo's Fire."
There and 707's big hit was "I Could Be Good for You."
Not ringing a bell.
No, and
I bet if I heard it,
I listened to it. Hold on, let me switch my inputs here,
you better watch how much of this you play, because 707 will come after your ass.
Hold on, give me just a second here. So yeah, I listened to this song that was their big hit, and it didn't sound familiar to me. It just sounded like any 80s song.
Well, because they're not a big band. You know, come on.
Well, no, of course not, because fucking Megaforce isn't going to get a big band. They're not going to actually get Journey. Oh. Sorry, that was a trailer for a movie that is playing because it's not on the YouTube subscription. Hold on here. Oh man, this is going to be so good, too, the build up to this. All right, here's their big...
I know.
This could be any 80s song already.
Yeah. Ooh.
Right? It sounds familiar, but only because it sounds 80s, not because I actually know the song.
No, yeah, this isn't ringing any bells, and I was alive then.
Just want to get to the chorus. Boy, a lot of build-up. Yeah.
Completely generic.
So generic. Like I said, it's one of those things where I'm like, I guess it sounds familiar in as much as anything that sounds like that sounds familiar. But let's hear some of Megaforce though, just to give.
That is what I was hoping for.
Oh yeah.
The keys do make all the difference.
They actually kind of do, and actually they do sound like Journey.
Yeah.
Just the keyboard, not the song itself.
And it does sound like the theme to any action movie from the period.
Oh, yeah. Well, boy, they loved to build up, didn't they?
Yeah. They're selling you on the epicness.
This is what people tuned in to hear.
I know. Yeah. Something moving in the air tonight. Those kinds of lyrics you just don't hear anywhere else. That was the part. That was the hook that I really remembered. Calling, calling, calling for you.
Well, that's because this song was originally written as a song called "Calling for You."
There you go.
Yeah. Let's get to where they say Megaforce. That's what it was. Yeah, and then they repurposed it.
Like a Megaforce. Yeah, it makes no sense.
No, it makes no sense because once again, it was written as a song called "Calling for You."
Like a bunch of guys in Lycra.
Its song has nothing to do with this. Like a Megaforce. Like a Megaforce. I don't even think I don't think they ever even had the band played for stadium crowds as opening act for Ted Nugent, Loverboy, Scorpions, and REO Speedwagon.
I can actually see them being a perfect pairing for all of those people.
Yeah, that's the thing though, and it's like
Loverboy, except for that would have felt like a really long Loverboy concert because they sound so much like Loverboy.
Loverboy is also that generic too.
Loverboy, where you get the guy coming out and I can't remember his name.
Is this a different band?
He was known for wearing a red headband.
Yeah, why didn't they get...
I was not copying. Oh, Mike Reno, that's his name.
No,
I was not copying Mike Reno. He just also happened to be a red headband wearing guy.
All right, let's get to the end of this movie here and wrap this up. We do get the cool final Ace Hunter moment is when he leaps his motorcycle over a tank and drops grenades on it.
Yeah, but again, is that because of Megaforce's awesome weaponry? No, that's just a guy on a bike dropping something on a tank that he's leaping over because he found a convenient ramp somewhere in the fucking desert.
The real hero of this movie, that ramp in the desert.
There are ramps behind every boulder in this desert because these bikes are hopping. They are hopping all over the place.
We're doing this this oddly named ramp desert that we seem to have found here. I don't know.
So, I mean, the only part of the backstory that gets dribbled throughout this is he finds out that the leader of the group that he's fighting is his old buddy.
Guerra.
Guerrera, and then you have a shorter name for him. What is it like? Hey, Duke.
Because I thought of that because obviously of G.I. Joe.
But yeah, so Henry Silva's character. So they
by the way, pretty big waste of Henry Silva, who I do love.
Yeah, but again, here he's a cartoon character, so he knows what his assignment is.
There is more pathos in his literal cartoon performance of Bane on Batman the Animated Series than there is in this. That literal drawing, though, has more going on than this.
Yeah. But basically, so Barry Bostwick's Hunter is like going, well, he was a good friend of mine. We had a falling out. He stole my lighter.
He stole my lighter. How do you know that? Because his name's on it, as we'll see later.
Yeah, and also he goes, but I ended up with his.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is, all right, so Megaforce kind of wins the day.
Oh, they definitely win the day.
I mean, they do win the day, but it's like, we barely escaped.
At least
we can't go back to the country.
At least I should say the movie tells us Megaforce wins the day. Once again, I have no way, because no one's dead, and there's nothing that actually gets destroyed other than just vehicles in a desert. I have no way of knowing how this battle turned out.
The one scene I did like in concept is the fact that, not in the middle, but somewhere towards the end, Duke just airlifts himself into Megaforce's camp without any weapons just to say hi. I mean, they are fighting, but he's like, is that my buddy? Yeah, I'm going to go visit Ace Hunter.
I will say that was the scene where I was like, what the fuck is going on? Because I thought this guy was the bad guy. And he is.
Brit is like, oh my God, that's our villain. And he's like, no, we're not going to mess with him. He's just here to hang out. This is my old friend.
This is like Duke and Cobra Commander. Just get a beer.
Yeah, and it's like, let's hang out. Let's have dinner. And he goes, yeah, you stole my lighter. And he goes, no, you left it behind. You forgot you were so drunk. He's like, what?
He goes, anyway, I loaned it to you. I didn't say you could keep it. Oh,
and also, there's I have to set this up because it's the last line in the movie, or one of the last lines in the movie, that he basically says, "What happened to you, man? We were tight, we served together, and we were idealists." He goes, "No," he goes, "in the 70s, we had the idealism." He goes, "We were still believing that the good guys always win, the bad guys always lose." He goes, "This is the 80s. We don't have time for that kind of idealism anymore. It's all about money and taking care of yourself." And basically our hero goes, "No, you're wrong. The good guys always win, even in the 80s. Okay, so
that's when he drops onto Guerrera's tank and he says, "I just wanted to say goodbye and remind you that the good guys always win, even in the 80s. Then he grabs onto the cannon of the tank, swings around, and leaps off.
Yeah. That was the payoff there, and it's one of the big things in the movie. And then but the thing is that Hunter doesn't make the big cargo plane,
the extraction, the thing on
here's another point I'm going to bring up about this bad movie. It's not necessarily that everything's ADR'd. A lot of it is, but not everything. But even when
I love the idea. Well, not everything in the movie is ADR, just most of it.
Just most of it. But also in the scenes where it's not ADR'd, I have not heard as flat a sound mix in a movie in so long.
No.
There's no life behind them. Like when they're in the control room of Megaforce and it's Egg talking to Hunter or something about something, they're the only two people talking, and there's no background anything.
Because it's just a projection and nobody thought to put any fucking sound behind them.
And then when they're on that cargo plane, when they're trying to pick up,
there's not even machine sounds.
There's not even machine sounds, and their hair is not blowing. They have a full open cargo deck on this huge prop plane. And not only is it deathly silent, their hair is not moving, but they're looking down going, "Oh no, he's not going to make it."
Yeah.
Well, guess what, people?
Well,
Hunter is going to make it.
I will say, this did feel like the end of Fast and Furious movie with, oh no, Dominic Toretto is dead.
Yep.
No, he's not.
No, because here's the thing. Hunter is like, don't take off just yet. Stay right where you are. I'm going to try out this tricky bit of machinery.
And we had seen this earlier where Egg told him, remember, it's 1, 2.
Yeah.
And I'm like, great. I just love the idea of, don't forget
That's
Ace
how
Hunter.
complicated it is.
Don't forget Ace Hunter. This flying motorcycle is controlled by 2 buttons. And you have to make sure you push button 1, then button 2.
Ace, just don't forget the very first 2 integers in all of mathematics.
But this is also...
It is vital.
This is also one of those things where if you have a fucking flying motorcycle, why weren't you using it the whole time? And I understand it's experimental. It's definitely trying to be very James Bondy, where they give you the gadget that will then save your life at some point.
This is Chekhov's flying motorcycle.
Yeah.
They introduced it in Act 1,
and it looks great. It just, the effect is amazing.
These are modded motorbikes. These are modded dirt bikes.
Yeah. Dirt bikes is closer to the explanation. And
they've got, like sci-fi-ish body armor, sort of.
Yeah.
But when he hits the buttons, holy shit. All it is because if these were actual wings, like ailerons or whatever, there would be some weight to them.
Yeah.
This thing, when looked on straight on, which is how they film him flying, you can barely make them out because they're just thin sheets of aluminum but he pushes the first button, so the wings come down by the back wheels. Then he hits the second button because he didn't forget what Egg told him.
He pushed one, then two.
Then two.
Now, how disaster it would have been if he had hit 2 first. Oh my god.
Holy shit. I don't even want to think about it. But
he's Ace Hunter. He never makes a mistake.
But this is where the turbo whatever starts firing out the back. He hits the NOS.
He does. He hits the NOS. You know what? Then, Fast and Furious is kind of eventually...
It owes a lot to Megaforce.
And it's kind of, as I think about it, especially as they go on, they're sort of the better Megaforce movies.
All I'm saying is, Paris Kambata, she had to run so that Michelle Rodriguez could walk.
And of course, quick plug for our patron content where you can hear us watching the Fast and Furious movies. Nice. Yeah.
But anyway, now the bike somehow, because of those 2 little bitty itty bitty wings in the back, is now lifting off. And weirdly, it lifts off front first, where the wind is actually being caught back of the vehicle.
That makes no sense.
Well, but also he's great at wheelies. So now he is clearly flying, and the effects are amazing.
This, by the way, this is the thing that's burned into my memory from childhood. Of course, is Barry Bostwick on the flying motorcycle. What I had forgotten was it really is right at the end of the movie. I thought the whole movie he was flying around on this thing. Was my memory of it. No, they save it. This is the big ending because no one dies, so you can't have. I mean, that's the thing about why Listman not being on this episode is like okay because there's no kills. There's really no one-liners. There's just weird stuff people say.
I'm right here, John. Have you guys not been hearing my comments? I've been right here the whole time.
Expect some messages from Michael Listman when this comes out.
The motorcycle is badly blue screen for most of it. There's some rear projection. They're using all the tricks, but it doesn't look good. And Barry Bostwick is also playing it. He's playing it for cartoon's sake because he's got this look on his face like, whoa! And then when he's up, he's like, oh, yeah! And then the bike starts to spin, which is not really him spinning.
That got me because also, number one, how's he staying on the bike? And number two, what controls on the bike? It can go left and right. How is it going end over end like that?
He pressed 3, then he pressed 4. So for some reason he's showing off on the experimental flying bike, and then he lands it right in the. And here's another thing I love.
This is my favorite Barry Bostwick moment of acting: is his dismounting from the bike.
Yes, it is good, but I'm not there yet. Hold on one sec. I have to comment on the fact that Megaforce is the most wasteful military unit in history. Because the way they pull out of this battle, which they have ostensibly won, is they created the smoke screen, then they just park like at the edge of wherever they were going to be, including the Doom buggies, and then they just climb into the back of a cargo plane.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe would be landing their vehicles in the cargo plane, or before it took off, they would be driving them up the ramp and parking them.
Right.
Basically, Megaforce's high-tech weaponry is left behind as a big exploding nothing.
Yeah.
Like, they set the whole thing to self-destruct while the people get in the... So, it's literally just his gang waiting on board the cargo plane, and their equipment is just left behind to blow up. Yeah, so, when he lands his bike in the plane, he's the only guy who actually brought home any of his tech.
It's
And,
true. It's true.
And he slides that mother in and hops off, and he dashes that hair around.
Oh my God, that like he does. It's yeah. It's I'll see if maybe I'll try to post the clip on our social media because it's the key thing is he lands and he does this like I could do it. You knew I could do it.
He does a Broadway show hands.
No, he
does.
I mean, that's the thing. He is. I'm sure when they saw him in Pirates of Penzance, they were like, "Well, he's very dashing." Yes, in a musical about pirates, he's very dashing.
In a fucking 1890s operetta by Gilbert and Sullivan, he is the dashingest motherfucker.
I mean, dude, I fucking love Kevin Kline, but he shouldn't be in something like this either. Jesus Christ, are you kidding me? These are like erudite dancer guys. Like they're not.
Holy shit!
They're not badasses.
Then they're like, "Yay, he survived." Then they go over in the cargo plane. They go over the press conference that Major Zara, who has been out of the entire battle sequence, right? She was not allowed to be a Megaforce. That was a big mistake on this movie's part. But she's there with the British guy, going, "Thanks to the help of other people."
Not Megaforce because they're secret, I guess, even though, once again, they are very loud and very destructive. You would think it would have been pretty easy to figure out that Megaforce existed.
Yes. But thanks, we beat back the people from Made-Up-istan.
Made-Up-istan, yes.
And we are okay.
Gamoria.
And then the cargo plane flies over, and the Brits going, "What are they doing? They're supposed to not even be here." And then they target his fancy passenger jet, which is what they had mocked him for before, and they blow it up. And that makes Paris Escombata just laugh like, "Oh, they got you." And even our Brit guy goes, "You Hunter." And then he shouts out, he's like, "Hey, good guys always win, even in the 80s.
Good guys always win in the 80s."
And he's like, I don't know, he said something. But Paris Escombata then blows him a kiss, and then he does his signature move, which we haven't talked about.
But I'm so glad we're saving it for here.
3 times in this movie, he does a thumbs up, kisses the thumb, and then does it back at I kissed my thumb and aim it at it.
That was the other thing I distinctly remember from my childhood was the flying motorcycle and that thumb kiss, because it is one of the weirdest things anyone has ever done on screen.
Ever done on film. Yeah, ever.
I do remember that also from the How This Get Made, and shout out, of course, to the great people over at How This Get Made. But I believe it was June who was like, if a man ever does that, fucking run.
Yeah, agreed.
That man
June
is a psychopath. That is so weird. And he does it to her at the beginning, and then here she returns it right back at him. They love each other, and
they love each other because why wouldn't they? They were in silhouette, and they skydived together.
He told her when he left, he goes, "I know a little place in London that we can meet up for drinks when this is over." And he goes, "Boys, I've got a date in London."
I got a date in London with that gentleman done? No. Surprisingly, it's with the lady.
I mean, that is the thing about, I don't think Barry Bostwick is a gay man, but
no.
He is not. He does not have the sexual energy of a guy who's gonna like bang this hot chick in that James Bond kind of man. You know.
Well,
what I mean?
Again, he is. There is in this performance and a lot of his performances. I have seen him be deadly serious. Like George Washington.
He's a good actor, but that's different than being a badass.
Yeah, there's a difference between being charming and being a badass, and badass is not in his wheelhouse.
It's It's
ridiculous.
So it does. Yeah, it comes off as musical theater badass.
And so that's the end. The credits start rolling, and then we get the most awesome theme song, which we heard a little snippet of.
And a best of reel from the movie.
A best of reel. And then, did you stay all the way till the end?
I did not. Once it went to the love theme from Megaforce, I turned it off. Uh-oh, what did I miss?
I let it play.
What did I miss?
At the very end, after the credits.
Yeah.
Just a repeat.
Yeah.
Of him on that tank going, "Good guys always win." Even in the 80s, they show that again, and then the words "the end."
Oh man, I thought you were going to tell me it was an Ace Hunter will return.
No, I would have loved that.
That was
but we
the
got
plan.
The good guys always win, even in the 80s.
I said that was definitely the plan, though. He was in Bostwick once again in that documentary. He goes, I was signed up for 2 more of those things. He goes, they never called. I don't, never. He goes, I was ready. I was gonna put on the fucking outfit again. I'll do it. I would have done more.
I will say everyone is wearing that lycra and spandex except for the Brit guy and except for Major Zara, but all the Megaforce people, so they all are, but none are as tight.
None are as tight. No,
spandex is tight, just in general.
I mean,
so they're all in form-fitting lycra spandex.
Being a Marvel Comics fan, there's definitely a Shield agent esque nature to it, right?
Yeah.
Except for when they realize those in the MCU, they're not quite that. They're also just made of a better quality too.
Yeah,
but they're not quite that tight.
No. Holy mackerel!
This thing, man, this movie is nuts. There was also an Atari 2600 game of it.
That I remember also being advertised in the comics.
Yeah, I could totally see that. As I always do on here, I have what we call the most misguided opinions of IMDb on these movies.
Okay.
I have 2. Normally I just read one, but I have 2, and they're both kind of in the same vein, which is kind of what I expected when I was going through these. So this first one comes to us from TBB and BB. I don't know. Yeah. And the review is titled "Great Biker Flick," which this movie deserves a better rating. It is a classic B movie. There was no attempt to win any awards here. Hal Needham, who is a former stuntman, directed the movie. The stunts are great. There are some great lines from the movie that need to be incorporated into your everyday lives. My wife and I missed this movie in the theaters and had to buy a VCR just to watch it. I love the idea that this guy purchased a VCR just to watch this. Maybe the stunts are a little over the top. And maybe the writer should have done better. But remember, the good guys always win, even in the 2000s.
I see what he did there. I like it.
This is my favorite part. Any military background or motorcycling background and a sense of humor, and I don't see how you can't enjoy this movie. 10 out of 10 stars. And here's a very similar. This comes to us from
10 out of 10.
This comes to us from M. Christie. Okay. The review is titled "This Movie Rocks." Okay. Talk about a kick in the pants. Barry Bostwick as a superhero. This is too good. Now, I'm not saying it's an Oscar winner, but what a cool set of special effects for 1982. Yes, it's hokey as hell, but that's what I love about it. And then this is one of the most common types of refrains for an action shelf review. If you want Academy Award winning, watch On Golden Pond or The Color Purple. But when I first saw this movie in the theater in 1982, I left there wanting to put rockets and jets on my motorcycle. Heck, I was 11 years old, but what did I know? I knew I wanted to be Ace Hunter and play with all the really cool toys. Actually, I turned out a lot more like Egg, but hey, at least I get to play with some cool toys now. Seriously, though, this is a good versus evil, get the girl, save the day and the world, high-tech action flick. Anyone know where I can get it on DVD? I've already got it on VHS. So this is from a few years ago. 10 out of 10 stars. It's a lot of...
I love the idea that these people seem to really feel the need to justify it, as if there are only 2 poles of enjoyment of film.
This is
Oscar winners.
This happens all the time in these reviews. There's like, if you want that, then go read Shakespeare, man, because this movie has guns. Like, there's always just that attitude that I think is very funny. And it comes up a lot. It's always just like, they're not trying to win Academy Awards, man.
And guess what? They succeeded.
They won no Academy Awards.
They didn't win any Academy Awards.
Because even the technical stuff is bad. Yeah, whoever said need effects for 1982, no. Also released in 1982, Blade Runner, Tron, and The Thing.
Just stop, people. Stop using that.
And
I will say this.
I believe
this
it
movie
was,
does open.
Yeah.
The credits roll. We get a narrated crawl, and we get footage that we'll see in color later in the movie. Action footage, slow mode, and hyper contrasted to just black and white shapes.
Yes.
Man, that just got the old blood pumping.
It
where I was
really-
like, oh, look at those silhouettes, the blobs doing exciting things, man.
Well, Brandon, as we always do on the show, Listman and I love to come up with a new movie by busting out our handy-dandy action movie title generator. So here
Okay.
I want to come up with... Now, we know that it was going to be called Deeds Not Words, but let's say the sequel to Megaforce happened with a new title, and we're
Okay.
going to write the next adventure of Ace Hunter right here,
Holy
right now.
shit.
So
I don't feel ready
Here it
or
is.
capable.
This is Megaforce. I'm firing it up now. Here it comes. Ooh. Megaforce Swindlers of the Flowers.
Of the flowers?
Of the Flowers. Swindlers of the Flowers.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, man, sometimes these are just words put together. I don't know.
They really are.
Swindlers
Okay.
of the Flowers.
All right, I've got an idea.
Okay.
Flowers ends up being a underground militaristic nickname for small nukes.
Okay.
They call those flowers.
They explode in some sort of flower-like pattern or something like
exactly.
Yeah.
And they're small swindlers. So this is international military black market, similar to what opened that Bond film. You know the one.
Tomorrow Never Dies.
Where we got Diamond Face.
No. You're talking. That's Tomorrow
Isn't
Never
it-
Dies. That's Die Another Day. You're talking about Tomorrow Never Dies is the one that starts at the market for black market arms. That's where he's in the Russian MiG.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. So thank you for
Yes.
setting
that
me straight.
that has him hunting down Ricky Jay actually.
That's right,
Yeah.
because he heard about how he could throw
Yeah.
playing cards into watermelons.
By the way, you have Ricky Jay in a Bond movie and you never have him throw a playing card? Insane.
What the
Insane.
fuck's that about?
Insane.
He has a built-in Bond villain gimmick,
I know.
and you don't use
and
it.
he doesn't use it. It's so weird. Anyway.
There should be playing cards in people's foreheads at the beginning of that.
No, it's one of the. Well, that was in that weird mid Brosnan thing where they're like, no, we're not being too silly, and then of course they end up at Die Another Day.
Boy, do they ever. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, so yes, yeah. Now so the flowers are being marketed, and Megaforce. Ooh, they learn that one of their member countries that actually helps them and gives them money is actually involved in that. So they actually have to break from even their suppliers.
Ooh, and I have another thing that I think is an interesting wrinkle that can play on this.
Let's go.
They end up teaming up with Henry Silva because even though he is just about the money,
Oh.
even he knows this is too dangerous, though.
Boom, boom, and the worst betrayal. The flowers were designed by Egg.
Oh no! But it's like a middle ground where it's like he did
You
it.
think they
but,
stole his tech?
yeah, it's something like that where it's like I made it and I tried to stop it because I realized I didn't realize how dangerous it was when I started. But now,
Well, you're much kinder because I was going to have him go full like.
Well, I was
you
gonna say-
never
I was gonna
gave
say-
me the credit I deserve.
Oh, I was gonna say it's this middle ground of like he feels guilt over it, but it's really not his fault. But he still is in sort of. It's still a darker story for Egg.
Yes. Okay. I think we're on to something.
I think that's you know what I love about these is when you're like, what the fuck would that title be? And then you talk it through and you go like, okay, that actually does kind of sound like a movie.
And then I would totally understand it if the studio went, yeah, we do like the story. That's a terrible title.
Here's the ending. Here's the ending. The
Okay,
bad
I'm ready.
guys think they successfully detonate them, but it's a
Right.
Megaforce hologram.
Oh,
And they're being
perfect.
shown cities being obliterated. But no.
Gigantic, the world's biggest hologram convinces them that
But
they
really,
they actually
Ace
blew
Hunter
up.
has captured the flowers.
Oh,
Because good guys always win, even in the 80s.
even in the 80s.
Well, there you go. There it is.
All right, we took on the hard job
It's
trying to make something cool out of this.
It's a hard job. You won't be here next week, but I'll still tell the listeners what to listen for next week because
All right.
this is going to be a doozy. It is another superhero-esque movie, and it's a
I'm
little
sad I'm not a part of it.
well until I tell you what it is.
Ah,
It is called Avengers Grimm. That's Grimm.
I already know it.
You know this movie?
Yes, there is a whole string of these that when I first got Amazon Prime,
Oh yeah.
I was like, how bad can these be? These are all sort of like asylum pictures.
Yeah, they're all definitely like made in response to the Marvel movies, right?
Right. And they've done several things along that line, and this is literally I watched maybe 10 minutes of it. It's horrible. Yeah, it's horrible.
Well,
But
then
it's essentially a super group or villain group made up of fairy tale characters.
yeah.
Oh God, it's awful.
Yes.
So, yep, enjoy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think you'd be too jealous, but it does feature the great Lou Ferrigno. So they have an actual Avenger in the movie, believe it or not.
That's amazing.
Yes. So we have that, and Action Shelf fave, Casper Van Dien is in it too. So
Yes, that's right.
yeah, because that's what he's doing these days. And the tagline, very lame, a battle of legendary proportions.
Get it? Legendary, because
Yeah.
they're all fairy tale characters.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got that or not.
I don't know if people picked
here
that
to
up. So it's Avengers Grimm next week on the Action Shelf. Michael Listman, man, he thinks he dodged this one. Oh boy, does he?
You better not call out sick again.
It'll just be me going, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible.
The horror.
No, this will be interesting. I think this is our first Ferrigno movie. We keep talking about
You haven't done Hercules?
Oh,
One or two?
Hercules is coming. I will say that will be part of a month we're doing of fantasy films. Specifically, we're going to be doing a month of 80s fantasy films coming up.
Yes.
So that will be part of it. I believe you will be joining us for a movie that will stay secret because I don't want to reveal it until it comes
I like
out.
the way that on other of your podcasts, you allow your friends to pick movies that they want to do.
Yeah.
I like that where I'm concerned, you're like going, oh no, we've already slotted you in for something. I'm not even going to tell you what it is.
You picked this. You did pick Megaforce.
Did I? I know I've brought it up a million times.
I believe you've said, "Are you going to do Megaforce?" And then I'm like, "Yeah, do you want to come on for it?" I think it was more like that. And this is actually, I'm not revealing it to them. We have talked about it, and I think this is one. I don't know. It may be a similar thing where I'm like, "We're doing that. You should come on."
I'm not real. I actually like not knowing. It's like it's fun for me
as long as it's not a bronzy, right?
Yeah, I've done my time with Bronzy, but
I think we've done our time with Bronzy too. I don't think he's on the calendar anytime soon again. So. What more is there?
He'll have a late career come back, and it'll be something amazing.
Oh,
it'll be
can't
like
wait.
the sensitive drama of an old hitman.
I would love that. I would
finds
love that
a family and settles down.
I would love that so much. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this week's episode of the Action Shelf. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Brendan Jones.
Until next week, get yourself some action.
I'm Michael Listman. Deeds, not words, everybody.
The Action Show. The Action Show.